loaded the wrong video. This is what happens when I try to do things that are complicated while I'm talking at the same time. But anyway, we'll just go off with that. That was a countdown timer, everybody.
People only like shows when stuff goes wrong.
I'm pretty sure I turned on the audio this time, so we can actually hear the music. But thank goodness the new intro layout I have is not that complicated to change because of the way I designed it. So I'm not crying tears. My first intro took me like an hour and a half to make. My first ever intro, and I've simplified things since then. But anyway, hey everybody, it's RC Ron. If you're on here already, thank you very much. If you're just coming on later, thank you very much. If you're watching us later, thank you very much. I am here to introduce first, before I talk about topics, Mr. Matt Boyle from Stryker Airsoft Industries is here. He's going to enlighten us with some exciting information tonight. And Mr. Steve Ash, the gun truck, is here with his wall of awesomeness is like 50% empty. Somebody was at an event this weekend. So he's going to, tonight we're letting Matt tell us about the Mini MILSIM 6, which I'm excited about. I mean, come on guys. The Mini MILSIMs have gotten more and more exciting every time they happen. 5 was your biggest Mini MILSIM, correct?
Yeah.
5 was so it was massive. I mean, it was great. It was at Wayne's World of Paintball.
It was fantastic. The people that came, they said it was the best Mini MILSIM that they've ever had. It was great. Sleepy Pops was there. He was leading the troops. He was, and it was fantastic. It was huge. It was massive.
I would love to hear him actually say that sentence. That was really, really cool. Awesome. Yes, so Mini MILSIM 6. It's a build-up, baby. It's local. It's going to be in Orlando at the, I don't know why. I don't have trouble memorizing stuff very much, but this one I always have trouble. The Outdoor Extreme Orlando Paintball and Airsoft Field. I don't know why I can't remember that, but that's what it's called. Maybe it's because I think it's in Orlando, and it begins with an O, and outdoors begins with an O. So anyway, that's where it's going to be about February 24th. He's going to talk with us about that. Then Steve Ash is going to maybe give us some comments about Iron Dagger this past weekend. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking about the new government document that may be bad for Airsoft. Stay tuned. We'll be getting to it. All right, Mr. Boyle. Oh, by the way, everybody say hey. Hey. All right. I thought I'd throw that in there. I never do that. Hey, Mr. Richardson's here. Hey, Daniel. Hey, I can't pronounce his last name. Cicerelli? Yeah, I think it's Cicerelli. Thank you guys for jumping on. Awesome. The snakes are out. Here they come. I'm going to, whenever Matt Boyle's on, the snakes come out.
Yeah.
So I am going to throw this over to Mr. Boyle. He's going to just give us some light info. Ladies and gentlemen, this info is important, but it's not going to be a whole document on the whole thing. It just got announced. So he's going to give you the briefings, which is important. You guys need to know this stuff. We'll let him have it, and then we'll get to talking later. So it's all yours, Matt.
Yeah, it's pretty fresh. I literally, before I came here, I was telling Ron that I literally left a meeting with everybody at Stryker talking about what we're going to do with the field and how the game's going to play out. And honestly, we're really excited to get back to, what started it all, which was Mini MILSIM, which is bringing new players into the sphere of MILSIM, bringing in new players into the sphere of more organized and large-scale airsoft. And at a field that is pretty new to airsoft itself, but that has a really cool layout, and that in its design was designed pretty much for scenario games anyway, because apparently paintball has their whole equivalent side of paintball called scenario paintball, which is essentially their MILSIM. They also do MagFed. And this field was set up to be able to run those games here, where they had, I think they told me they had like 300 to 500 players on this field at one point. So the field design is really cool. Go ahead. There's a lot of people. It's more people than we're going to have out there. 500. Those people who've talked to me about my game design, I'm not super fond about when you're like, come on guys, get away from me. I'm trying to play airsoft. Like, there's got to be some place to like actually breathe and move around and stuff. So we're probably not going to have that many people out there. But it'd be a good size game. The field is a good size. The way that the field is set up is there's cover everywhere. The areas are distinct from each other with their landmarks. There's a big road that goes through the whole field that we might be able to possibly bring vehicles onto. We're talking about that. It's got a stream with multiple bridges that are the only way to get across that stream. That I always think the bridges are super cool whenever you're talking about any type of scenario game. And we're coming back to, the roots of where Stryker got started. We're bringing back the class system. We're going to have that game design where there's always something going on. We were able to learn a lot about how to implement our game design from Casavac. So this will be a really good testing bed to take those lessons and, get them rocking and rolling here. And something that we learned from actually just last weekend, we went to Red Monarch, which I got to say for a game where it was their first game that they set everything up and did everything, that game went so smoothly and was so much fun to play at. It was incredible. And we got to learn a lot just from playing in that game. So we're going to be bringing stuff into there from that, where there's going to be a lot more escort missions. There's going to be a lot more, okay, well, not just take the territories, but you're also going to have to do things. And once you do this, it's going to unlock something else and that kind of stuff. Make it a little bit more, I guess, complex now that we've gotten the classes and everything like that. It'll be really cool. And it's going to be fun to get back out there and just to have a game where it's competitive, but everybody's just having a good time. There's a totally different vibe to the mini MILSIMs. It doesn't feel like everybody's there just like, oh, all the time and freaking out because they're on the field. And I will not get shot and I will never call my hits because I am a MILSIM player. And it's just kind of fun to get out there and have the mix of, because you get people from the Wasteland games that come out there and they're all dressed up. And you've got the people who are playing at TCA events. And you've got the people who've never left the state before, but they're just having a good time. And then you've got the people who've never even been to a MILSIM before, and they're carrying, 12 pounds of, poop roll on their back because they're worried they're going to be camping out there like it's Fallujah for 3 weeks. So it's a great mix. It's a great atmosphere. I'm really excited for it.
Wow, sounds really cool, man. So you guys are just now, you're basically finishing up at least the part of structuring the game flow or game plan. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, we've had a couple of challenges as far as the class system that we wanted to address from the last time. And then obviously we're going to bring back the territory system that we had the last, I think, not 5 or 6, that's how many there's been. I think the last 3 mini MILSIMs, we've had the same territory system where the territories are out there and you have to bring out resources to those territories and then guard them for the duration of how long they're there. The resources can be stolen from those territories, and it's going to be more of like an open battle type concept where territory can change hands. But we're going to mix that in with like mortar pit systems. We're going to have another resource system built in on top of that. We've got ammo, water, and food that we're going to mix in on top of the resources that you have to do the territory system. We're throwing out the concepts of having the bridges be also objectives, where the engineer class will be able to bring up materials to the bridges to construct the bridges, and they won't be usable until that's done. And then there will also be mortar emplacements that can then destroy the bridges that will then in turn have to have the bridges be rebuilt. We're throwing that out there to see if that might stick, as long as we can implement it. But a lot of more complicated and fun stuff like that now that we've got the basics down.
Cool. I just, every time you talk about, it doesn't matter if you're talking about 5 or 4.5 or now 6, it's always cool to listen to you talk about all the different characteristics. When I've heard so many spiels about events, and it's usually pretty basic stuff. Go capture this, hold this, maybe have to deal with getting some sort of supply or at least capture supply. You guys are just classic at throwing in all this extra stuff that keeps people entertained, and it makes them think while they're on the field instead of just thinking about where's the dude so I can shoot him, or where can I go sit in the shade and not have to run around. They actually have stuff to do if they want to be competitive. They want to be a challenge. They want to challenge themselves too, to be able to be an effective fighting instrument in the event that, and this one, there's tons of opportunities. I bet you there's not a single time that you can go up to one of the COs during your games and say, hey, is there anything for someone to do right then? And then they say, no, man, there's nothing to do. No, that ain't happening. No, they'll be like, well, yeah, I got like this list. Take a look at the list. That's entertaining. Now, and if you want to be just a follower, just goes out with a squad and just wants to go around and go where they ever want, don't have to worry about maintaining or looking into what do I do next too much. Just be a part of a squad, but be an effective part. Activate yourself and try to help. And that's part about MILSIM, military simulation. Yeah, everybody's got something to do. If they think they don't, all they have to do is ask. So awesome. I'm excited for you, man. I'm excited for you. This is going to be exciting for everybody, especially the newish, I guess you could call it newish field. I don't know if this place had any airsoft ticket events there yet.
No, I think that this will be the first one. I think it'll be the first large scale, specifically airsoft game that's ever been played here. And it should be a pretty good debut. I think that the way that the field is set up, it's not like Wasteland where the terrain itself will kill you, but it is enough terrain to where it's very interesting to be able to maneuver from place to place.
Very cool.
It'll be a challenge for basically anybody that's going to go out there. It's not just like a flat space with a couple buildings here and there and some logs to get from building to building. It has its own personality, per se, from place to place.
Right.
There's actually a bog that hopefully won't be too wet, but will be just wet enough to be annoying, that half of the map, not half, like at 1/4 of the map revolves around. And I think that that's going to be cool specifically because the way that we're planning the game out, obviously you have one side and the other side. You have your 2/3 of the map, which are just your standard, okay, there's the stream, you get across the bridge, it's from urban center to urban center, and you're fighting like that. But then you've got the bog, where it's like, okay, you've gone from someone who's just here for their first event, and they've got just enough stuff to go and play, and they're going to go have fun at, the crashed helicopter or whatever. And then you've got your dude, probably like Steve Ash, who's like, I want to get muddy and crawl through the mud. And he's going to go into the bog with his machine gun and smear it all over his face so the predator can't find him. And he's going to, go around the flank that nobody else is going to be guarding except for 5 other people who also want to be in the bog with Steve Ash. It's going to happen all too.
There's always that group of guys that's a lot dirtier than everyone else.
We take that MILSIM to the next level.
Yeah, man. If I'm not hot, dirty, sweaty, and about to fall over, I didn't do my job right.
That's right.
So.
Yeah. And that's part of the exciting thing, too, is that the great thing about mini MILSIM is you get a lot of people who've never been to a MILSIM. And it's so exciting to see them get excited about the game and to get involved with the game. Because, you might have somebody who's like, well, I don't want to go up to, Stonebreaker in April because none of my friends are going, and I would never go to Stormbreaker for the first time by myself. That's too intimidating. But you can get something like this where it's not that intimidating. It's still an organized game. It can still be fun. And the way that we design Mini MILSIM is always with the mindset of there's going to be those players there. So how do we make sure that those players feel integrated into the game in a way that makes them feel important? And that brings it back to the class system. It's like no matter who you are, if you're with other people, you are important. No matter what's going on, you have something to do. And it just makes it fun, especially for that new player who shows up and he has no idea what's going on, but he can still feel like he's part of this big platoon that's going to do this thing because he's the medic or he's the engineer or he's the support gunner or whatever it might be.
Absolutely. And that goes to the Facebook pages too, because eventually the faction or coalitions or whatever pages are created. And if you're brand new, and you're just hearing about this Mini MILSIM, or you've been to one, well, maybe you haven't been to one yet, but you heard about them, you've been to fields, not really played in events, and you want something that'll help you step your big toe into MILSIM, Airsoft MILSIM, this is a good one to do it with because it's just everyone expects that there's new people. They expect they're going to have to answer questions. The Facebook, the coalition pages on Facebook or faction pages, whatever you want to call them, that's where you start. You go in there and say, hey, my name's Joe Bob Briggs, and I want to play Airsoft. And like it happened before Casavac, and I think there was an incident that I personally was attached to before Mini MILSIM 4.5, I think it was, where a person asked, hey, what do? I want to get into this. And I said, go to this Facebook page and start asking questions. And like the Castleback, there's a guy that jumped right on, went on the Facebook page, and before you know it, people are answering his questions, giving him the information he needs, because everybody wants more people to come on. Airsoft is a group event. It's a community event, and to a lot of people, it's a family, so don't be afraid. This one's a good one. It's not got to do push-ups and take guard duty and camp overnight with nothing but a sleeping bag and a pack of matches. Nope. This one's a lot more laid back, which is good. It's very, very good. Fun for everyone.
I mean, there was that one time I had to pull Ash off of another player. He asked him if they were allowed to go full auto. He grabbed him by the plate carrier and said, "I don't have time for you. I am MILSIM." And I said, "Ash, please, let him go."
Oh, you guys in your role playing. You get too heavy into it. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
no,
Aiden brings up a good point. Being able to join those planning pages before you actually go to the event. For all those players that have a lot of questions, especially pertaining to their individual factions, those Facebook groups that are all created before all these events are well worth your investment in time and going and signing up and talking with the other players, working out strategies and things like that, figuring out what companies or squads and whatnot you're going to be a part of, who's your leads, comms, all these important things that everyone, when they get to an event and they're like, I don't know any of this information, that's where all of it happens. So Aiden brings up an awesome point.
Yep. Thank you very much, Aiden. You too. It's like you're ganging up on me because I was getting ready to talk about that. And then I look at the question. Steve starts talking because Steve saw not the question, but the post. Steve saw it before I did. Before you know it, it's the Steve Ash Show. And man, I'm just, I am happy. I sometimes I feel bad because other people that come on the show don't talk a lot. Dude, talk. I can talk. I can talk about it. If you want something to say, you see something, just bring it up. And I'm so happy because a lot of times people explain a lot better than I can because I can't speak right sometimes. So these guys had it covered. Thank you. That's, as said, Aiden, great notation. Steve, thank you very much for the in-depth explanation because that is absolutely true. If it wasn't for Facebook, I would have been even more nervous than I was when I went to my first ever MILSIM event, which was TCA
Bone Crusher?
No, it was I can't. It was just in my head. It was one of those things. It's like, all right, I'm here. All right, I gotta go.
Was it Viking?
Viking, yeah, the first ever serious Viking, the first ever serious Viking up in Dalton, and I think it's where you pronounce it, Dalton. Yeah, and South Carolina. Is it Dalton or Dalton? But anyway, I'm having trouble with words tonight. Anyway, so yeah, and I asked a few questions before I went, and I felt a lot more comfortable when I showed up. And it's just like, okay, I know somewhat what's going on. But everybody's been there. Everybody's been there. Everybody's been new. So you see somebody walking around like, he's feeling like he's, like freaking out inside, but trying his hardest not to show it, dude. Go up and introduce yourselves. Hey, man, how you doing? That kind of thing, because that's what it's all about. That's another thing that makes Airsoft so great. So, okay, here's the way you can set up the event so commanders can. Here, I'll pop this up so you guys can read it too. Commanders can get in contact info. Well, I happen to know.
So technically not. I am not allowed to collect a bunch of people's personal contact information and then pass it out to a bunch of people who are not actually affiliated with me, unfortunately. So you have to go through the old tried and true method of having John Doe on your roster and finding all the other John Does on Facebook and trying to go through their friends list and picture to see if they're actually playing Airsoft and making sure it's not something else. And then inviting them onto the Facebook group. I've been in PO before. I know how it is.
Yes. No, I think it was my first, the first Dragon was, I considered that if somebody had asked me about doing that, giving all of their personal information, their email address, phone number, to the COs or to squad leaders or something like that. I'm like, I just don't feel comfortable doing that. But there is a flip side. Maybe there could be a thing where if the CO is comfortable with it, maybe it won't be, but the CO could have an email set up just for people to get a hold of him. And it doesn't have to be his personal email. It's really easy to set up just an off the books kind of email. I say off the books, but one that's not directly associated to you where you won't get bombarded with all kinds of weirdos and stuff. But you can just set it up so they can contact them that way. But in the end, the best way is just a Facebook, go to the page, do the messenger thing, and usually it's the COs, XOs, or some sort of administration that's on there that can answer those questions. So I'm sharing my account. Okay, I'm fine with sharing my account. Okay, cool. See, Daniel's on board with that. So, but we'll see. We'll see. That's just an idea. So, Mr. Boyle, anything more to say right now? Because I know you're going to be on later and have all this more exciting stuff to do, kind of like what Tori's doing with the PFC Jamie Riley event. She's just doing a build-up. Every time she gets on, it's more and more stuff. And Matt's classic for that. Before you know it, he'll drop a bomb on everybody. So is there anything more before we move on to the next subject?
No, I think that's it. We're really excited for it. We're at the planning stages right now. We're going to get everything rocking and rolling. Hopefully, we will have the tickets up and ready to go by December 1st. We're waiting for a few more quotes to come in for certain things before we, commit to a price point. But it's probably going to be within the $55 to $65 range, somewhere in there. But yeah, hopefully tickets will be up and running by the time December gets here.
Awesome. I like to hear that. Where's that? Okay, cool. Sounds good. Okay, so just real quick, before we get into the government document that I don't know exactly. I guess it was released back on the 2nd, but it's fine. It's found its way around to me. Just because it says it was, created on the 2nd doesn't mean it was actually released. But I want to ask Steve. Steve, what did you think of Iron Dagger this weekend?
So I had an absolute blast. It was one of those events that really tested your spirits, is the best way to put it. The weather was really, really tough. It was like a light rain that just never stopped. And so when you started going out, like we were going after Tori a lot from the green team, and we were constantly chucking through the woods and all those leaves and all the grass and everything, collecting all that water. And when I went through it, it just soaked you from head to toe. And then, of course, you're taking fire, so you're getting down low and you're scooting across the ground, and you're just it was so wet, so cold. There were points where there was a lot of puddles of water and stuff too. So you're stepping in it, you're getting like trench foot going on. So between that and then the high, I think of that day was like 58 degrees. And so it got at night down to like 40, in the low 40s, high 30s. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was cold, really cold. And so I'm really surprised that towards the end of the night, when the night ops were really kicking in late in the evening, there was many people playing as there was. A great turnout. Again, the game went off without a hitch. From our side, we had a lot of fun. When you get in those 24-hour events, you start getting into the wee hours of the night. Things kind of slow down, which is, that's typical. People are sleeping and whatnot. But, had me, my boy, Scott Watson out there, Michael Vaughn, Levi came out with us, which was really awesome. He was running nods for the first time. And so we mopped him. He was a go-getter that night, and a newer member of an honorary member of the Anvil team, Kelly, which is I guess they're Michael Vaughn and Kelly are related. So a big shout out to them. They put in the work this past weekend. We had a lot of fun. Huge shout out to Sal and his crew for TCA. I did reach out and thank him, but I wanted to make sure publicly that he did an awesome job. We had plenty to do, even though the weather was rough. I'm still blown away by the good attitudes and good sportsmanships on both teams. It was a real blast. So, but yeah, on a side note though, I did want to give a shout out to Orion as well for Monarch, the Red Monarch game. I heard, just like Boyle mentioned a minute ago, it for him being his first game, I heard it was great. And so I'm sorry I missed that. And next event I'll definitely be there. So
that was the one this last weekend at Wayne's World, right?
Yep.
So that wasn't actually Wayne's World putting it on. That was a different company. What was the name of that company that put that on?
Well, I'm fuzzy on how it works, but my understanding is that Orion works with Warzone directly, and Orion was putting on the game. So then it was a Warzone game.
Oh, okay. I see what's going on. So
is it together on it?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's cool. I'm glad, and that's not the first time I heard it. It was a great time at the event for the Red Monarch, which is really I'm glad because it's a great field. It needs to be, and putting a good event on it is very important. Just like wait a minute, Mini MILSIM 5 was there, and it was a fantastic time. The what I was going to say, leading off of what Steve said, yes, all the events I've been to with TCA have been, if anything, because you can't always control what happens with players and their actions. But if anything, those guys do a hell of a job at least trying to maintain some organization, some task, giving people tasks, assigning tasks, making sure everybody's got something going on. And you've got great places to play at. And even though GTI is played many times a year by different places and people have been there God knows how many times, it's still a great time, especially if it's put on by an effective event producer. And yeah, TCA's got quite a bit of practice out there, so they know the area pretty well. So, okay, well, cold but fun, wet but fun, cold and wet but fun. But good fun. To hear, but fun, yeah. But yeah, hey, that's what happens. Can't control the weather.
I will throw out there too that me and Mr. Watson have a little bit of a surprise that we're currently working on. So the next big event that we go to that allows, without letting too much go, that allows vehicles. We are going to participate in the technical side of the next game. So we're super stoked about that.
Very, very, very cool, man. That's awesome. I'm excited. Yeah, I think I know a little bit about that. And that's awesome. I'm real excited for you. That'll be exciting. So, all right. So,
a kid's electric Jeep for $300 from Sports Academy, and then he put his 240 Bravo on it. He actually has to walk behind it in a little hunch and push it along.
As long as that's it's actually funny. You're not far off.
Jesus.
Listen, you got to start somewhere. Not all of us can have Humvees at any given moment.
Oh, yeah, no, we can't, right, Matt?
It's not I used to have a Humvee. It'd probably be broken because I wouldn't know what to do with it.
But oh my gosh.
Okay. Let's take a few minutes and try to keep it under the 45, which I always try, and I don't know if I've succeeded yet, but we're going to take a few minutes and we're talking about this government document that Mr. Ash sent me today. The date on it, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen on this one, guys. Let's see here.
I've got a better copy of it too, Ron, than the one that I gave you if you want the better images.
Well, this is just, I'm not going to let it be, I mean, it's coming out pretty clearly. I just wanted to show a few details that, this is it's from the Department of Justice, November 2nd, 23, Enforcement Programs and Services in Washington, D.C. Now, what this basically is, if you read through the entire document, is that they are basically taking a step back. Because it's kind of like when you make rules and you say, nope, this is okay, then 6 months later, a year later, you go, you know what? No, that's not okay anymore. To me, it's kind of like, well, you should have thought about the first place. It's a little bit of bullshit crap, but that's basically what's happening because they even talk about it. It's a notification for previously exempted special explosive devices. Now, we talked about this earlier where, Matt and I were talking about it, that the government gave us a scare. What was that, like a year ago, 9 months ago, something like that? It said something, they were going to do bans on this, bans on that. And it ended up not even being really related to specifically Airsoft. And if you read through the entire document, which was massive, by the way, you're right. It didn't really stick itself to Airsoft. This one, as short as it is, which is only a 3 pages, it's so specific. Let's see if I can bring up that one page there. It's so specific. It actually mentions let's get that rolled down. Actually mentions specific Enola Gay product IDs. Okay. And some stuff I've never even heard of. Okay. Like the EL55 electric smoke device. Okay. Not sure what that is, but the rest of them, the ones the EG18X, the EG67, the MC18, the M11, M12, the M13, some of that stuff you're going to recognize, and that's directly attaching to itself to Airsoft. And they mention it in the document. If I can bring up the page there. They mention it later on in the document as well. They talk about, let's see if I can find it. Federal state government agencies. Am I too early? Here I am. Wait, explosive laws. Nope, I must be on the wrong page. So they talk about Airsoft directly in this one, guys. They're coming back and they're saying that they're saying that these devices may, possibly, or they're hearing or they're being informed that have been used against law enforcement. And so, yeah, that's not good for the Enola Gay people. That's not good for the tagging people and anybody else that's producing stuff, the Thunder V, the Thunder Bees, all that stuff. I get it. I understand that could be an effective force if you were to use it against law enforcement, if you're that kind of douchebag, that's that criminal type. I can see how law enforcement would hate that. I personally, you start going against the EG67 to me isn't any scarier than a firecracker, which is a firecracker is easily found anywhere. I actually, what scares me more than what they've got here is Thunder V's. You got a Thunder V that goes off next to you good. It's your life changed. Your soul leaves for a second and then comes back. Okay. What are your thoughts on it? We'll go with Matt first. Matt, you got any thoughts on it?
I mean, the first thing I'll say is that I think that the only reason all of us are mad is because it specifically impacts our sport in a very heavy degree, but the most of the population probably won't give a damn. It's very common for alphabet organizations like this to come out with arbitrary rules that have been voted on by any elected body and essentially just enforce them as law. So it's more a matter of enforcement than it is anything else. How are they going to enforce this? Is there going to be some form of license that is going to be involved with this? The ATF is not going to show up to every airsofter in the country's house and take your EG67s away. But at what point is it like, okay, well, I have to alert, the police department because I'm going to be running my game down at the abandoned prison. The police department shows up. They said, oh, well, that's not supposed to be here because of the ATF. So it's going to end up being more of an issue of enforcement than anything else. I get what they're saying, but they already have a pretty tight grip on the market for those who aren't as involved in that type of stuff on the back end. It's basically impossible to get any reputable manufacturer to design anything that even resembles a grenade. So them doing this is very targeted because they've already taken care of it. So where Enola Gay is pretty much the only company that can have something like this. So they know that if they outlaw this, that's pretty much it.
It's really sad, to be honest with you, because there's a couple perspectives I'm going to come at this with, and first and foremost, starting at the small business side. So you've got these companies that have invested money into these products, and now that basically for whatever stock they have, I mean, what's the law now? Do they have to destroy it? Do they get to sell it? Like,
no,
I feel bad.
Are you now suddenly a felon because you own airsoft equipment?
No, I read into it. They have to comply with all the proper storage practices that's required by this document, attached documents, and previous documents with anything that's explosives, which you're supposed to do in the first place, by the way. They can't come and take it away from you. What they're basically saying is just store it and sell it with the current laws, but you can't to get it anymore, to import it anymore, to import, deal it, or create it. You got to have a complete license, no matter if it's a low explosive, high explosive, or just the material explosives, that kind of stuff. That's what happens. And I looked through all the documents today and all the safety guidelines.
I haven't looked at the whole thing. Did they put it in the same grade as 1.4G, or did they put it in something else?
They did not specifically, as far as I could tell, they did not identify it as a specific. They only noted it by the numbers I just had up. These are the ones they want out. the ones that they noticed.
Yeah, they'll have to put it in some category. If it's 1.4G,
I understand.
Yeah, if it's 1.4G, it'll just make it really hard to get it as a retailer. And then I'm not sure if there's any type of
Oh no,
regulation.
you have to have the license. I had it pulled up earlier. You have to
Yeah,
apply
it's the
and where is it?
FEL. You got to have the FEL for it now.
Okay.
Yeah, to purchase, manufacture, or distribute as a dealer. Well, basically, a dealer and a distributor are almost the same thing. But yes, any of that stuff. Basically, to get it and sell it, you got to have a license, and to use it. That's something you got to read in the fine print. You can't sell it to anybody anymore. That's the bad part. You can't just sell it to even guys 40 years old. Sorry, do you have a license? No, I don't have a license. Can't sell it to you. That's what the document's saying. And so what I'm seeing is that if this does go full-fledged, which I'm expecting it will, but as Matt was saying, it's them enforcing it. How bad are they going to enforce these things? Sometimes they just create rules to create rules so they can say later when somebody does something bad with it, then they can say, well, you're not even supposed to have this. So there's two things we can hold against you. I get that. But if they start enforcing it down to the small store or field level, it's going to be bad for Airsoft because that's a product that a lot of people enjoy using. I can find a way to still use the items if I have a license and I'm in control of what those items do. Just because I have a license, I can't sell it unless I'm selling it to another licensed individual. And the licensing that people were signing up for the Airsoft Junkies thing, that's not the same thing.
Mm-mm.
That's completely different. This is all
This is
you got to
federal.
get. Yeah, this is federal. This is all you got to do it kind of thing. You got to have it. I just hope they don't enforce it, but it's really difficult to find out if they are and when they start to. Anybody got any input on that?
I I know that being that it's under an FEL, it's kind of like an FFL, right? So this isn't just something that somebody can walk up and say, "Hey, I'm applying for a license and get it." Right? It's a whole process, and it's going to be they're not handing these things out like cookies. So basically, for those who are not in that minority of being able to get these licenses, basically for these items, we probably won't see them again.
That's true. Very, very true. I agree. I my brain instantly went to, as a business owner, my brain instantly went to, well, I don't want to risk getting in trouble doing this because of fines and possible jail time, blah, 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 blah. I know it takes a lot to go that direction, but I actually thought, well, I'll set up the licensing so I can at least use them in the field for events, for special activities where I'm in control of what they do. That's completely legal as long as the user is licensed. That's where my brain went, but I want the public to be able to grab these things. I just don't, like somebody was, I think it was Steve was saying earlier, it's going to take some of the big companies that have the big pockets to fight this, to be able to go and say, hey, this is wrong, and spend the possibly years in court to get it fixed. And I don't know if they'll do that.
I mean, unless the was it the Fifth Circuit Court kicks back in and starts doing some turnover on these things. I mean, there's not a whole lot of hope for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not going to be. I can't go down that route. In an attempt to avoid being political, the people that would stand against this on one side of the aisle probably won't, because the justification for it is to defend law enforcement. And the other side of the aisle will never defend this. So
it's kind of a lose-lose.
Yeah.
What sucks is I was upset. I was upset whenever tagging was taken off the market, and that was a big hit. And at least we had Enola Gaze, right? That was one of the things we'd say to the team. And here we are.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to. Yeah, it is one of the exciting aspects. I mean, I don't know if either one. I think Steve has. I go out with all pockets full of Enola Gaze. I had 11 Enola Gaze on me at the GTI event, that last one I was at with Wiener and a couple other guys. I had every pocket full. I had 11 Enola Gaze, and I came back with like 2. I love using the explosives. I'm sorry, I do. This is going to suck for me as a player. I'm not saying that that's what all players do. I'm just saying that the guys who really enjoy using them, this is going to suck. So, all right, guys,
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah,
yeah.
let's see.
We had a firefight up in Iron Dagger this past weekend, and back in Torrey, which is that big long road on the very back side of the field. And we somehow managed to get behind enemy lines, and we used 16. Well, I used 16 smoke grenades in that one fight, and so it was just this entire area looked like a huge
He
roll of fog.
changed the freaking weather pattern.
We were pulling. I was pulling three of them out at a time, just throwing them and chucking them. So
Oh my
it's
goodness.
going to be really sad not to be able to do that kind of stuff anymore.
Yeah. Hey, Daniel. The only thing I can think of, and these two gents with me might be able to come up with something else, is the Thunder V. There's a Thunder B. Those I stopped using because you got to chase the core. Once you throw it, it blows up. Scares the shit out of even somebody 2 miles away. But you got to chase your $26 core too. You got to go pick it back up. But are there any other alternatives you guys might know?
I think
Mad Bull makes a gas grenade. I think a refillable gas grenade.
Yeah, they have the ones that spit. They spin and spit
Yeah.
out BBs everywhere. I've seen those. Yeah, you got to chase those too.
You've got your classic China plastic with spring launching grenade that you can get off of Amazon.
There's an alternative.
There's nothing I can think of off the top of my head that's going to be like a direct replacement. I mean, pyro is pyro. I mean, it's always been, king when it comes to any kind of ordnance. So, you got the tornadoes, you've got a couple alternatives, but nothing that goes bang that scares the living tar out of anybody that actually shoots projectiles.
It's really the disposability of the EG67. I think that it's greatest asset because you can just throw it. You don't have to worry about it. It's not like Ron said. You don't have to be like, all right, well, when I die, I got to go back and get my core. Hopefully it's still there. So
hopefully it's still there. Oh, I've run into that. I hate it when I forget. That's kind of what discourages me because you get in the heat of battle. It's just like, and you're like hiding, boom, and it's like, oh yeah, and then you get shot, and you're like, man, and you just forget about it. You get into the game, you forget about it. You go back later, it's like somebody picked it up. Yep, somebody picked it up, but nobody turned it in, lost and found. Yeah, so, shoot. So those are your alternatives right now. I don't know if there's a potential for anyone in the airsoft community to stop playing airsoft because they don't have the grenade alternative. It might happen. I can't say it's going to be a high percentage, but I can see we could lose a few airsofters because they can't use the cool grenades that they love so much. I'm not really sure. Not really sure. So
yeah, Zach just brought up what I think is the biggest issue. It's going to be it's just like when they outlawed alcohol back during the Prohibition. They caused way more problems than they solved. Because Zach's correct. All these people that can't get their EGs and smokes anymore, they're going to go home and make up some freaking backwoods Easter egg freaking bullshit that they're going to throw at our fields and get people hurt, and they're going to come up with their own smoke grenades that are pissing fumes all over the field. That's what's going to end up happening.
That's not smoke, that's green gas. Mustard gas.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But it is going to enforce you're going to see a lot more, what do they call the M302 launcher stuff now. Because that's not an explosive, but it is basically a grenade that you can throw a long distance. Some of the powder, some of the explosives, some of the air bursts, whatever. I think if you see a big surge in that, you're going to see a lot more of those hanging off people's hips or their guns. And
I mean, you can. The problem with that is that they're not really meant to be fired at infantry targets. You can't be out there shooting fate rounds at little Timmy who's playing on the airsoft field. Like you can't be doing that. They're specifically for vehicles. I know some people do, but that's even worse than homemade smoke grenades.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I've seen guys that got hurt by that stuff. Even the ones that they launched in the air, not directly at somebody, they come down with a lot of force. And if they hit the person in the wrong place, it can cause some damage. So I have always felt that the launchable ones like that are not going to be with us very long. What's going to happen is so many people are going to get hit in the skull, hit in the jaw, hit in the chest with these things, even though it wasn't directly aimed at them. When it comes down, it hurts them. And before you know it, one person does it here, another person does it there, another person does it there, and these companies start getting sued. And before you know it, insurance company's going to be like, okay, no aerial launch anything.
Yeah.
No BBs.
No.
You know what? You guys just go pew, pew, pew and say, I hit you. And that's how the game works. No, sir. Yeah, it's just crazy. We can get into all those conversations later. God knows we talk about all kinds of stuff on this show, like the insurance epidemic and all that stuff. But covering what we covered tonight, the document it's right there on the screen for you guys that want to take a look at it. Well, it was on the screen. Stop sharing. My bad. For anybody just coming in here and wants to see what that document is, here's a screen, and there was a doc ID someplace. Where's the doc ID? Where did I find the doc ID? Did I miss it already? The doc
Just
ID.
go on to any Facebook Airsoft group. I'm sure you will find the document.
Steve, do you know the doc ID on this one? I seem to have lost it.
I don't, but I can give you.
No, all I have to do is Google. Just Google anything that has to do with previously exempt airsoft items. It'll pop up because this is a singular document. It's not like there's a whole chain of them coming out. Just look that stuff up. You'll find it. And as the week goes on, the popularity of people looking for it, you're going to, like Steve said, you'll find it anywhere. Find a copy in Matt's back pocket probably.
Who knows?
You
might put out another video and claim to save us all, even though that it wasn't anything to begin with. He might save us all again.
Yeah, read the entire document next time, Evite, please. I get it. It was a huge document. It was massive. But
I don't remember who said it, but never let a crisis go to waste. That was some of the best marketing they had in years with that video. They came out and they said, we will put a stop to this.
Yes, they did it. And I think they got a lot of feedback. But all right. Damn it. I missed it by 4 minutes. I was just looking at it, too. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen of the viewing crowd, thank you very much for all. Wait, let's see. Handfuls of BBs. Yeah, there you go. That's a good idea, Glenn. Yeah, just grab a whole handful of BBs, throw them and say, grenade out! And whoever gets hit, that's a grenade, man. You got hit, man. Yeah, just need ironclad waivers. As I've heard from several lawyers, there's no such thing as an ironclad waiver. Too many people operate off of stupidity. I didn't know that, and then the judge feels remorse. Yeah, and that's just the way it is. So, no, I'm not saying they are stupid. They just work it as I didn't know that. That wasn't in the waiver. I'm not that kind of guy. I go out, I fall in a ditch, I break my ankle, even if the ditch wasn't supposed to be there. Wait a minute, that ditch wasn't there before. It doesn't matter. It's me. I decide I'm a grown man. I go out, I get fucked up. Now, if one of the admins causes me to have an accident because of illegitimate actions, then it's different. But I don't see that ever happening. So anyway, what was it?
Having a waiver is like wearing a snap-proof vest to a gunfight, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it still comes down to the integrity of the player. If you're a Karen, you guys know what I'm talking about. If you're a Karen, don't come to an airsoft event, please. It's not going to work out well. I'm sorry. We are mature, responsible, active players, people that understand.
Most are.
I'm going to just go on the high road and say everyone is. But we know. And I'm just saying, waiver or not, I mean, unless something's directly done to you by another person, you're going into an active environment with all kinds of changing conditions. So you got to expect it. I mean, just ask Rob Wiener. He actually fell into a ditch, broke his ankle, all to hell, and he was still smiles about it. He knew it's on him, man. He's not going to complain about it. It's just the way it is. It's just that's what happens. You go out and play soccer, you go out and play football with the guys out at the park or whatever, and you screw up your collarbone or you twist an ankle. Are you going to sue those guys? No, because it's the same thing. You chose to do the activity. Don't get me started. I got to get off this screen. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. If you have any more questions, drop a line about what we talked about tonight. about the government document or anything related with RC Airsoft, the Dragons, or Anvil 352, drop it through the Facebook page of RC Airsoft. Mini MILSIM 6, though, they've got a Facebook. They've got the Stryker Airsoft Industries Facebook page. They've got the event page, which the links have been attached to both the announcements I had about this. You can go through there, find a way to communicate with them. If you give me $100, I will give you Matt Boyle's phone number. And then you can just call him as much as you want, okay? I take Zelle, I take Cash App, I take all that. Anyway, all of a sudden, ding, 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 ding. So, no, I'm just kidding about that. I would never do that. That's highly unprofessional. So, but yeah, got any questions, please do not be afraid to ask. Someone will help you. If you ask me about Mini MILSIM 6 and I don't know anything about it, I will ask the man in the screen to my there. Over there. Go over there to your left. Over there. Anyway. So, all right, everybody, say goodbye.
See you guys.
Love you.
Oh, he loves everybody.